Let's move on to the constructor methods. So first of all, it's important to understand, what does a constructor do? What's the difference between a constructor method? We usually define as a member method. So let's compare. A constructor method is a special kind of member method. So what makes it special? The name of a constructor method must be the same as the class name. So when we define a normal member method, the name is not customizable, but not for constructor methods. Secondly, the name of the constructor method must not be preceded before the name of the constructor method. Can't have any declaration of the type of return value. That is, it can't have a return value. This is different from our normal methods. And thirdly, you can't use a return in a constructor method to return a value. That's the basic format of a constructor method. So let's take a look at. So what does the constructor method do? Look at the constructor method. It's there when we create, or strength of the object when we create it. So this is a no-parameter constructor. Notice that it doesn't have a return mechanism, and the method name is not called a class name. So when we create an object, we'll call the no-parameter constructor. Those students may ask, we didn't create this no-parameter constructor. Why didn't we get an error? Did not report an error. It's because it provided us with a no-parameter constructor by default. Create an example. Let's create a no-parameter structure in this one. So the no-parameter constructor means that there are no parameters. The no-parameter constructor is called. Okay, so let's go back to this. Create a test class. I haven't adjusted any of its methods yet. Notice how I just keep getting up at this point. He's going to execute the no-parameter constructor that we just did, because when we call this method, we're actually executing this statement. Okay, that's the no-parameter constructor. So let's go back to the PowerPoint. You can see the running code. Calls the no-parameter constructor. That means when we go to new it will execute this sentence. Okay, that's a basic use of the no-parameter constructor. Let's take a look at the no-parameter constructor. Some of the things it can do is to help us create example. In addition, we can also define his parameter constructor. We can add a parameter in constructor. For example, I'm going to provide the private. Private int and age. Note that the method names are the same. At this point we provide another string. Well then at this time, no parameter constructor and parameter constructors have been created. We can pass these two names. For example, Jiang Sen, then 18 years old. Then in order to be able to show his name and his name, Then this time we provide another public method, like the show method. For example, me. Who is my name? Add a content. And then add age plus a place. This is his access to our copied attributes. So now, we're going to click on a show method. Okay, that's the use of constructor methods. Think about it. In addition to creating example, can't they also give us attributes to be copied? This is one of the functions of the constructor method. Solid objects and initializing them. So by default, help provide a no parameter constructor. But here's the thing to keep in mind. If you only provide parameter constructor without providing a no parameter constructor, do you think there's a no parameter constructor? A lot of students think there is. Didn't the teacher just say? The no parameter constructor is provided by default, but pay attention. Look at the color of the piece we. Isn't it red? He said, you don't have the no parameter constructor here. So we have to be careful. If only if the display declared that there is a parameter constructor. That is to say, if you declare a parameter constructor without declaring the no parameter constructor, the no parameter constructor is invalidated. So that's why. What's the best advice? Declare no parameter constructor and parameter constructor to be declared together. When we create an object, we have more options. That's a basic use of the constructor method. So that's all we have to say about constructors. After learning the definition of a constructor, then, next, we need to understand the reload of constructors. What does reload mean? What is the purpose or benefit of reload? So let's go over it. Just like normal methods, constructor methods can be overloaded. So reload, we know the form of reload, means that in a class, the name of methods are the same, but with a different list of formal parameters. By different parameter lists, refers to the type of parameters, or the number of parameters. So when creating an object, you can call different constructor methods for different properties. So what's the advantage of reload? Is that it extends the functionality of the program, so that I can call whichever constructor I want to. Can be copied from my attributes. Let's look at reload and how it works. So this constructor reload is actually the same as our normal method reload. It's the same thing. Let's say we create this no parameter constructor. Then I create another constructor. Only it's not the same as the one with parameters. This one has no parameters. This one has one parameter. And the next one is two parameters. These three make up the method reclassification. Okay, so which one to call? Depends on what the color actual parameter. Let's go back to Ellie to show you. Next, let's create another demo. Let's go back to the case. Let's create a demo. Look at this. Now we define two properties. One is a string class. In class one more. Now I'm going to create a no-parameter constructor. So next, let's create another one with parameter constructor. If these two are exactly the same, they must be duplicates, right? You can't define the same method. If the parameter list is different, then we'll assume it is reload. Let's say for each sentence, let's give him an output statement. So we know the call is this one with the parameter constructor. In here, okay, so let's talk about these. So let's say that all four constructors form a what? A kind of reload relationship in the same class. And the name of methods are the same, and the formal parameter lists are different. Different numbers. And some of them are of different types. So these two are different types. So when we call it, look at when we call it. When we create a student, this is not the no-parameter constructor. We know which one it's calling. It's calling the no-parameter constructor. Okay, and then we're gonna throw this into the right field. Go ahead and do it. And here we pass a hello. Not Jongsan. Come on. Although I pass also a parameter. The ones that fulfill one parameter are this one and the one below. But since I passed a letter string type, hell look for a match to this parameter constructor. This time we call which executes which. This is the reload of the constructor method. There's another shortcut I can teach you. When I create a constructor method, I actually have a shortcut. I delete everything. Click on constructor. This constructor means constructor. Then you can also select all of these too. And then select. It's just not selecting any of them. This is no parameter constructor. We can also select one of the right. We can also choose the following one. Okay, so let's go back to the PowerPoint. Then the constructor. Every class in Java has at least one constructor method. So in a class, if there is no constructor defined, the system automatically creates one for the class, by default. When we show the definition of a parameter constructor, but not the no parameter constructor, then the system invalidates the no parameter constructor. So, it is recommended that you put the parameter constructor and the no parameter constructor together. Okay. This is the default constructor. That's when you write a class. You don't write anything. There's a no parameter constructor by default. You can also declare it on the display. You can declare it on the screen. That means I write it out for him. Okay, so about the constructor method. Let's stop here.